This is CHSR 97.9 FM here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. This is Python's Paradise, your film and music show, and this is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena. And folks, I gotta say, it was 2 years ago, I had the pleasure and honor of doing a tribute to Roddy Piper, having his son Colt and his daughter Ariel on here on the podcast to do an interview, and it was such an honor to do that. But you know what? I have the lovely and the beautiful, the gorgeous Ariel Teal Toombs on here tonight to talk about other aspects of her talents, and I can't wait to get into that. Welcome, Ariel Teal Toombs.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I still love the teal.
I know. Thank you. That's what I'm going as for my singing and songwriting, just because Ariel Teal Toombs is so long and theatrical sounding. So I thought I'd make it easy for everyone. So I'm releasing all my music under just Teal. Make it simple.
Teal?
Yeah.
Are you going to take my advice and do a duet with the Iron Sheik?
I think that's pretty brilliant. He hasn't reached out to me yet to do it, but I don't see how that won't go straight to number one.
Could you imagine? I love hearing his outbursts.
I understand half the lyrics, but that's okay. I don't enunciate much either.
Yeah, I love hearing his outbursts.
I know. He's a great guy.
he gained a whole new fan base just from being on the Howard Stern show.
I bet he did. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't think I've seen him in years, probably since my dad was inducted to the Hall of Fame. But I mean, he was very nice, and he gave a great speech.
I love the Sheik. But anyway, it's interesting because after the tribute to your dad, by the way, I want to express extreme gratitude to you and Colt for doing that. I really am honored, and I'm happy that I had that opportunity to honor your dad.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing that. I've said before on your show, anytime now that he's passed, people want to remember him or tell me stories of theirs about him or anything like that. I really appreciate it so much more than I ever did before. It keeps him alive, so I really appreciate it.
Well, I still watch him on YouTube, so.
Sometimes I do that too when I miss him. So.
Yeah, especially some of his Piper's Pits clip. I never until just after his passing, the Ebenezer Piper bit. I love that.
I know. I actually hadn't seen. I mean, I probably saw it once when I was younger and forgot about it. But yeah, it made me pretty happy to see that bit as well after he passed.
Or even the one where it's on Halloween and he wraps bricks up as chocolate bars and a bowling ball candy apples.
Yeah, he was always so fun to have around the holidays. So I think I appreciate those skits a little bit extra just because, Dad was very fun at holidays.
I bet. Even watch him doing the little Christmas song where he chokes the poor guy out in sleeper hold.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that was so great. I actually use that still from that for my cover on Facebook sometimes for the holidays because it's just so perfect.
Absolutely. How is your mom and your siblings doing?
They are doing all right. It's still. It's been years, and yet it still feels like we just lost him. It's crazy, and I think I compare him to being a planet, and we're all sort of revolving around him. And so when he passed, it's a big void in all of our lives, and it's very hard to figure out what to do from here. Especially for my mom. I mean, she lost her partner in life. You know, so she's been doing very well. I mean, she's a strong lady to be married to Roddy Piper all these years, but so she does well, but she's still struggling to figure out what to do with the next chapter of her life, and she still misses him a lot every day. So all we can do is be there for her. And my siblings are all doing wonderful. They're all married. I have a ton of nieces and nephews who I love dearly, a lot of them, and they're spread out everywhere. I have a sister in Washington, a sister in South Carolina, and my brother in Vegas, so we're very spread out.
It's interesting. I got to point this out. When I had you and Colt on in 2017, that you had mentioned that was the day your sister had her baby.
Yes, it was. Oh my gosh,
May 19th.
So exciting. May 19th. I know, and she is due again for a second baby. So
Today?
First boy. I'm very excited.
Today?
Not today, but she is pregnant again.
You mean to tell me that every time we have an interview, you're not going to have a niece?
Pretty much. I mean, I have 12. I'm sorry, this is so bad. I have to count it out. I think 12 going on 13 or 11 going on 12 nieces and nephews. I have to sit there and name them out to think about it, but a lot of nieces and nephews. So I feel like I've pretty consistently had a niece or nephew been born in the last 10 years.
Gee, I thought I was like, I wonder if I could pull that off every time she comes on here.
I know you might be able to. I don't know. I feel like I'm the only one that hasn't started having kids, but that's okay. I really like being an aunt.
There you go. Well, there's no hurry,
No, there's not. Especially when you have this many kids in the family. I feel like there's not a lot of pressure on me to start. So.
Well, there is pressure.
Because I'm enjoying my life.
There is pressure on you. I'm still trying to get you in that match with Tamina Snuka.
Well, maybe. Never know. Never say never. I'm not really open to possibility anymore.
We don't want to get you banged up.
Who says I'm getting banged up? Maybe she's the one that'll get banged up.
You gotta get coconut.
Oh yeah, with a coconut, absolutely.
Yeah, you got to keep it going, and you got to have somebody. You got to have somebody in your corner that's got a constant arm cast on, the never healing arm cast.
The never healing arm cast. Well, they probably kept re-breaking it, In fairness.
There you go. Poor Bob, the only one. I'm like, go to a doctor. No. Your doctor is very, very bad.
Heal properly when you're wrestling.
Yeah. But anyway, I had you come on here today because I remembered after the tribute I was looking you up and I'd noticed you've done movies and you've done music, and I was like, I want to get to know that aspect of you, and I got to say, you sent me a song called Amber Eyes, and wow, I listened to it when you sent it to me, and I listened to it, actually I listened to it this morning when I got home just as a refresher, and I enjoyed it even more this morning,
Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah. And that song is about your dad, huh?
No.
No?
That's not about my dad. It is about a girl who is very close to me. I don't want to say her name and put her out there, but she was very close to my dad as well. So, it's very personal song for me, and I actually wrote it on a flight back from visiting her. However, my dad is involved in the sense that he, when I started this album years ago, I'm self-produced, and I've always been somebody who just learns as they go half the things in life. And so I did that with this album. I've always been a singer, songwriter, guitarist, pianist, that sort of stuff, but I've never pursued it as far as making an album, and I decided, why not? And my dad was always very musically passionate and incredibly talented musician. A lot of people didn't know that about him. And so we always shared that. And he was going to work with me on this album. We were going to do a duet or something like that together, maybe a cover song, one of his favorite songs, that kind of thing. And unfortunately, we never got to get in studio until before he passed. And so this was sort of my nod to that. I was able to find some improvisational harmonica playing that he had done. And I had this brilliant guy Tim Zirkle, he's a sound guy who was able to sample his harmonica playing and use it in the song. So it is my way of including Dad in my song. So every time you hear harmonica, technically that is my dad playing it. So
Yeah, I heard it.
So between the two, it's the person I wrote it about, and that it's my first single that I'm releasing, so it definitely means a lot to me, and I put my heart into it and tried to make it as good as I could. And I had a brilliant producer and co-writer on the song, Ringo Maestro, who really was able to take all of that feeling that I wanted and build on it and like really help me produce the album too. So I had a great team, and yeah, so that is how my dad is involved in the album.
You mentioned before he passed, you thought about doing a cover song. What were some of your dad's favorite songs?
So my dad was he was very into folk music.
Yeah.
He loved anything Johnny Cash. There's this guy named Leadbelly back in the day. He loved Leadbelly. And there's this girl, I'm trying to think of the name because I'm terrible with names because I'm a terrible person apparently. But there's this girl that does this song, you put in a nickel, or the dollar song. And it's like you put in a nickel, but they want a dollar song. It's a very old, like sort of folky song from, I think, the 60s or something like that.
Okay.
And I have that on my iPod. I just can't think of the singer at the moment, but he loved that chick and all of her covers. So we had talked about doing that song specifically. We also talked about just doing one of Johnny Cash's classic songs. We talked about writing a new song. I mean, unfortunately, we never got far enough into it. I also thought it'd be fun to do like a modern take of another song he liked. It's an old song. You probably recognize it. It's like boxes, little boxes, and they all made out of ticky-tacky. Do you know that song?
Yeah, it's confronting the trailer of one of the horror movies coming out.
Is it?
Oh yeah, there's a horror movie coming out. I forget the name of it, but that song is featured in the advertisements.
Yeah, really? I need to see this because I love that song and I love horror movies. So I need to see this. So that was one that we had talked about sort of making a modern cover of and working on together as well. We would just have fun playing around all the time. He was also a huge Tom Waits fan.
Yeah.
He would play lots of Tom Waits for me. So, yeah, I mean, we had so many ideas, and I was waiting till further along in the album process once I had my feet under me, because I was learning, still as I went in the beginning, which, this was like 3 years ago or so. So, I didn't want to bring him in and waste his time. So I wanted to wait till we had a solid process going, and then once that happened, it was too late. So, lesson learned.
Well, your dad was also known for the bagpipes as well.
Yes, he came, I believe, 5th in the world at bagpipes at a very young age, and they are an incredibly hard instrument to learn. I actually bought a chanter recently and have been fiddling around on it trying to learn, and let me tell you, it is not the easiest, let alone having the whole pipe. I don't even know how that works. He was really good, and I miss hearing him playing. Like, he would play around our house all the time, even if it was just on his chanter, or as he got older, he discovered electric bagpipes. He was really excited about that, because even if he had, broken ribs, he could still play.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he would constantly be fiddling around on those. But he was a very, very good bagpiper. I think that was the first musical influence he had in his life, was traditional bagpipe music, and from there it went to Irish fight songs and that kind of stuff he would work out to and so forth. But he was a very good bagpiper.
Well, it was interesting because he was on Storage Wars one time too, on an episode of that.
I actually haven't seen that episode, but I remember he had done that.
Yeah, I seen it. Yeah. But, I remember WrestleMania 1. He and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff and Cowboy Bob Orton coming out, and there's all these people playing the bagpipes, leading them out, and that was just a great arrangement. But yeah, you talk about learning as you go. Have you? How young were you when you knew you could sing?
still don't know that I can sing. I like to say I'm a storyteller.
Oh, I thought you
Performer.
sounded fine to me. I mean, come
Oh,
on.
thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. I've been wanting to sing, or I think I got my first guitar when I was 9 or 10, and I've been playing and singing with my mom was a great singer. Like when I was, I don't know, probably a toddler. I don't even remember. She would take me to like these opera voice lessons. So I definitely grew up around a lot of music between both of my parents. And, I don't remember a time I didn't enjoy singing. I think I felt a lot more confident with it once I actually started playing the guitar and I could play to myself singing, rather than other people's songs, and kind of get comfortable in my own range. And then I just kind of took it from there. But I always consider myself more of a storyteller than anything else. It's just like a avenue to tell stories with.
You know what? That is something missing in a lot of songs today is storytelling. Like you mentioned Johnny Cash earlier, It's
Yeah.
funny to listen to a song like one piece at a time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And so many of the songs anymore, I feel, are very, which I still love modern music, but they're very like you can cut and paste the song anywhere
yeah,
within itself, and there's not a lot of arc to it, like story arc.
exactly.
And I tend to write almost like a little short story in my songs. Sometimes annoyingly so. I've had many friends and producers tell me to like cut it back a little bit because I get too wordy, but. So yeah, I really enjoy doing that, and it is a challenge to make it also something that people will listen to nowadays. So I've been trying to sort of blend a lot of old and new sounds and have fun with it. I mean, the blessing of being your own producer is getting to do whatever you want. My album is going to be very all over the place as far as styles go, but that is something that I am excited about as well. It's nice not to be put in a box.
Well, being experimental is a positive thing.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I think so. I mean, once you're under a major label or anything like that, they definitely want to market you a specific way, and it is
Yep.
an advantage to do that. But at the same time, I mean, I haven't gone out there and tried to get a label or anything like that yet, because I really was enjoying the freedom, like the creative freedom of doing it this way. And it's my first album, and I was like, I've been doing what everybody else's projects for acting for so long. Like, I just want to do my own thing for this. And so it has been really, really fun, and I've got to play with a lot of different styles and play with my voice and stuff and hear what it sounds like in different genres and things. So it's going to be a very eclectic album, to say the least.
So, talk about the process of doing this. Like, you got to get yourself a studio, or go out and rent a studio and write the songs, and talk about the process. I've never done this, so I want the full detail
Well,
about going embarking on this.
so I mean, I'm sure everybody has their own process. For me, I'd had several songs written, and I got connected with a producer through a mutual friend who actually originally I started working with him as a voice coach. He's a brilliant vocalist, like just unbelievable, and has helped me a lot. And so I started working with him in that aspect, and then we just naturally progressed to songwriting together and production. Typically, how I do it is I have a small home studio at my house, and that I've built up over time. And make no mistake, it is not a fancy studio. It is very much a home indie studio, but it's enough that I'm able to make demo tracks, and I bring in instruments or MIDI or whatever I want to do and take it from there. And then once I have a good solid blueprint of the song, then I take it over to a place called Melrose Mastering in Raleigh Studios.
Okay.
This guy named David Williams, he's amazing, and he edits and masters all my songs, and I'll redo vocals there and stuff like that. But I try to push it as far as I can on my own before I take it into like an actual studio to save on time and money, of course.
Just out of curiosity, how many instruments can you play?
Depends on if I'm drinking or not. I play some piano. I play some guitar. I wouldn't say I'm like a master pianist, just good enough to write like a song on. And then a lot of times I will work with a better pianist to expand upon it more, or however I see fit. But I've been playing piano I kind of taught myself that in high school for a long time, so it's enough. And guitar, I'm better at than piano. I've been playing that since I was younger. I wouldn't say I'm a lead guitarist, but I've been playing that a long, long time. And then I guess, I'm fiddling around with the bagpipes, but I'm not by any means good enough to play.
I was going to ask you about that.
Give me like a month or so. Like I've fiddled around with a lot of other instruments. I think once you know how to sort of read music and the gist of like a string instrument and a woodwind or something, it is a lot easier to pick up another one in the same genre. So, I fiddle around with other stuff, but those are the main ones.
Oh, there you go. So, on this album that you're doing, this is your first album, right? I'm correct, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. How many songs you got on it?
I'm not sure because I keep wanting to add one or two more. I think at the end of the day we'll have about 12.
Okay.
There's a couple more that I wanted to add to it. It's very challenging because of scheduling. Where everyone's working on other projects, and people get booked on films and stuff. So, it's a little bit challenging. But I think I'll probably end up with about 12 songs on the album at the end.
Okay. You go do any music videos?
Yeah. Yes, that is actually the next process that I am looking into as we are wrapping up the album. I've not decided. I have 3 or 4 songs that I'm sort of looking at music video-wise. I've not decided what to sort of do for the first one, but I got to say Amber Eyes is high up on the list.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I love that song. So right now, that's definitely one of the top ones I'm thinking about.
Yeah. So you're gonna release this as a CD? Because I'm one of those people that still buy CDs.
Well, I'm glad somebody does. I will. I think I will. The single will just be for digital download, but when I release the album, which hopefully will be by the end of March, is what I'm aiming for.
Okay.
It'll have. I think Amazon Prime does a CD thing with that, so I'll probably do it through there. Yeah. And then everything else is probably pretty much going to be digital.
I've never done the digital thing before. Call me old in the tooth, I've never gotten along to that. I
really enjoy not having 1,000 like DVDs and CDs lying around my house.
Okay.
So I'm all about it.
Oh.
I like the lack of clutter. Like I don't like having like a wall of DVDs and a wall of CDs. So I actually really like it.
Okay. Maybe I might have to get into that. I do have CDs. I've had musicians I've interviewed that sent me CDs. So of course, I'm one of those old people that still does that.
Okay, my mom is the same way. She refuses. I've tried to digitalize her music. She won't let me. She likes to flip through her CD book to look at the CDs.
Have you ever thought about doing a song with Cyndi Lauper?
I would love to. Cyndi Lauper is by far my biggest musical influence. I grew up on her. I adore her. I've seen her live several times. Obviously, my parents were friends with her and everything. But that aside, I really idolize her as an artist. So I would say that's up there on my dream goals.
Did you see that appearance? Actually, your dad was there, and Cyndi and Wendy Richter, and when they kind of thrashed Heath Slater. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and my dad used to tell me the story all the time of how he kicked Cyndi Lauper in the head. He said it was an accident. He just saw blonde hair and assumed it was a wrestler.
Oh, gee.
Which is funny because anyone that knows him, he definitely wouldn't have done that on purpose.
Oh, Cyndi was
heat for it.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you. Yeah, the heat that you're not hearing today in wrestling, I'll tell you that. They need to reel that. The last time I heard heat was the last WrestleMania when they brought Ronda Rousey in, and that tag team match, and that had some heat, and I'm glad they brought Ronda in because I think for the first time, and I'm hoping it happens, they'll main event a WrestleMania with females.
Yeah, I think that they're really. I think that there's a big shift happening in wrestling with females, and I think it's really excited and a long time coming. And um, yeah, I think it's really cool. I mean, they're like you said, first time main events, and it's time. I mean, the tides are changing. You know, I'm very proud of all those girls, and I wish my dad could be here to see it because he used to always tell me, you know, back in the day, like how much harder the women in wrestling had to work than the men.
Well, you
So
know, I always loved Wendy Richter because, I mean, she was somebody, she did cage matches back in the day, you know. And of course, she was the original screw job, apparently. But I gotta say, I thought it was so awesome that I guess your dad gave Ronda Rousey the blessing to use his gimmick or part of his gimmick.
uh, the Rowdy, yeah,
Yeah.
she had they had both trained under Jean LaBelle, and back when he was still alive, she asked out of respect if she could use Rowdy Ronda Rousey in her name.
Hmm.
And you know, he's like I said, he was such an advocate of female fighters and everything, and it's from the same wrestling family, so of course, what is he going to say no? So
Well,
yeah, and she's such a great fighter, so
well,
it's an
I,
honor.
I think she could have made Triple H tap out in that match for real had it come down to it.
She's serious, that's for sure. She is a great fighter. I definitely look up to her as a fighter. I think she's really on point. So it's exciting that she's transferred over into wrestling, and who knows where she'll go from here with her career. But you know, she's definitely, I think, been one of the people that really pushed women in wrestling towards the forefront, and women in fighting in general. You know, so I mean, she's very cool. I think she'll be remembered for a very long time for really helping push women out in wrestling.
I think it's fantastic too. Even Charlotte Flair, you know, like
Hmm.
she's done stuff in the ring I never even seen her dad do, and I love that because she's finding herself and making her. She of course does homage to her dad, but at the same token, I mean, she did at last year's WrestleMania some backflip thing off that top rope with Sokka, and it's like, holy cow, I never seen that. It was just
Yeah,
impressive. Yeah.
yeah. It's you know, in a world post MMA, everything's people are looking for so much more high impact wrestling that they used to look for. So I'm not surprised that she's getting more innovative with it. It's really cool to see, especially when it's somebody who's second generation, you know, family. It's just so cool to see it evolve with people and families. I love that.
I'm still waiting for Charlotte to do the nosedive though.
Oh man, I don't want her to break her pretty face.
No, I agree. I agree. But anyway, you know, the CD Amber Eyes. I listened to it. I loved it. What other songs on this album that uh, give us a little taste of what else is on the album?
Well, I like I said, it's very eclectic. There's a lot of alternative indie sounds with pop and a lot of older sort of '80s influences in it. Another song that is probably the most emotional one for me is actually the only ballad on the album, and I wrote it. It's called "Stay Strong." I
Okay.
wrote it 3 months or so after my dad passed. It's the first like musical thing I tried to do after he passed because I couldn't work for a while,
Yeah.
and it was basically, you know, it was written both about losing him and from my family's point of view, but also for anybody who's lost a loved one. It's just about the grieving process and everything you go through. And that was probably the hardest thing artistically I've ever done in my life. Like, I don't think I was able to get through singing that song without just hysterically crying for like the first 3 years. I always said like I'll do it once to record it and maybe one time live and like never again. Like it's very hard for me to get through. But it means a lot to me, and I actually you can hear his voice on it a little bit. I put some of the last voicemail on my phone from him on there, so it's very very personal. So that song is very different on the album and probably the most personal song I have on there. And then outside of that, I have a lot of very fun. I have some sort of electronic pop sounding songs that are much more. I guess could say radio friendly, as well as I have some I play guitar on, which are a little bit more folky. I mean, I really kind of make the rounds on it, but at the end, they're all stories that I wanted to tell in the songs. So
Yeah.
they're all like little pieces of me, and I don't know. I'm a Gemini, so I guess it's a very Gemini album where I'm like all over the place.
I, I,
Like some days I feel like this, and some days I feel like that, and that depends on what day I wrote what song.
are you going to do metal and rap?
I might get into a little bit more of the punk metal side. I listen to all of that, so it just depends. I definitely have a couple tracks that are a little bit more hip hop influenced based off of some of the writers I was working with. So yeah, don't count that out. I would say my natural writing style tends to be more alternative indie, sort of popish.
So what would you say?
I like to have fun.
What's
I
that?
like to have fun.
Yes, absolutely. Well, when you don't have a studio looming over you, it allows you to be more innovative and have more fun, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And not to say that I don't look forward to the next process of my next album, which, hopefully I'll go to a label or with or something. I honestly haven't even gone down that road yet. But I'm very happy that I got to do this just how I wanted to. I got to, if I felt like doing a song, whatever style, however I felt like doing it, I would just do it, And so I think that that's been very, very rewarding and like artistically free feeling. So I've really enjoyed that process.
What would you say was the most difficult aspect of making this album?
Difficult aspect for me would probably be I'm, self-produced. So very much so working around other people's schedules and my schedule, and it's part of why it takes so long. Like I have an editor that's about to go do a movie for 2 months, and you have to give people leeway and stuff. So for me, it was all about just keeping the momentum going forward. And I have such a good team of people that have been with me for so long and have been really dedicated to the album and been like inspirational, and they totally get my the vision and are great to write with or produce with or whatever. So I've been very lucky to have the team of people I have, but it's very very challenging over the course of the last couple of years to keep the momentum going forward when you don't have a big label behind you supporting you, and you can't just block off 2 months and be in the studio the entire time because it turns out mortgages still have to be paid or whatever.
Yes, absolutely. So you're releasing this album on Valentine's Day, is that correct?
The single Amber Eyes
Okay.
will be available for pre-order on February 7th, and it'll release on iTunes on February 14th, which is Valentine's Day. And then the album itself should be coming out late March.
Okay, late March. Okay. Wow. So yeah, that's fantastic. Like I said, I enjoyed Amber Eyes, and I look forward to hearing more of this album. Like I said, if you get it out as a CD, I gotta find out all about the the other process. I'm still not there yet, but like I said, if you get a CD, I'd gladly order it.
I will make sure you get a CD.
Okay, absolutely. One thing I wanted to touch upon when I was looking you up is you've done some movies as well. Nothing totally high profile, but I did notice that you did a movie with your dad.
Yeah, we actually worked together quite a bit on small projects here and there. Yeah, the first movie I ever did where I had a big role, terrible movie though. I'm not even going to say the name of it. But we worked together, and it is just he was so fun to work with as an actor, and very, I always looked up to him as a performer. I mean, he was so good on set, and just really really powerful performances, so we would rehearse together, we would, work on auditions and stuff together. Like we did a lot in the acting side of things together, and any chance we could work together on a film, we would, just because we really had fun doing it, and why not?
So
So that's
this
very
film
special.
wasn't very good, huh?
I don't know which one you're looking at, because I actually did a few films
Oh, one about
in a bigger
exorcism.
scale. Yeah, that's the one. I wouldn't trade the experience for anything in the world, though.
Yeah. Why was the film bad? I haven't seen it, so.
Don't waste your time. It was very. I don't want to sit here and trash talk a movie I was in, but it was horribly directed, and I was very new to the scene and just okay, I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I'm not upset with my acting per se, but the it's just a low budget horror movie and not the best, and not in the good way.
Well, I noticed you had I noticed you had 2 credits, but then again, I didn't go on your Internet Movie Database, but the other film, you worked with Felissa Rose from Sleepaway Camp.
Which film?
Oh boy, you're gonna make me look this up, aren't you?
I'm genuinely not sure. It's been a while.
Okay, I'll look her up. See what we have. But yeah, Felissa Rose was in this, and again, I believe it was a horror film.
Probably. I do love to do the horror film.
Okay, I'm going to type that in here and see what this thing's booting up. So okay, Psycho Sleepover. That's it.
Oh yeah, that was a super random movie, but so much fun to shoot. I was friends with a lot of the people on the set and stuff, so it was really, really fun to shoot. I'm trying to remember. Geez, that was so long ago.
Yeah, it says 2008 here. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right. It's nostalgic to talk about it, but that movie was so fun. It was ridiculous. It was about some girls, high school girls, that had a sleepover and then decided to kill their boyfriends. And then for no reason whatsoever, an insane asylum had a breakout. So there was also crazy people running around killing people. There's just a lot of murder, a lot of killing in that film. But it was fun. It was a fun project.
What was Felissa like to work with?
I didn't actually work with her that much on the project. I don't think we had that many scenes together, but I remember her being very nice and fun. When you're shooting an indie project like that, you're working long hours because they don't have the budget for you not to. So it was very, very much about getting work done on set as much as possible. But I mean, she was nice. I really don't have a lot of experiences with her though.
I'm just looking up your Internet Movie Database here, and yeah, you get a few more roles. You have Shut Up and Shoot.
Oh my God, that one. I did that before I ever even thought about being an actor. I still lived in Oregon. I was a kid, and that was terrible. And also, there was this creepy guy in the scene next to me. I probably shouldn't say this, but he kept being creepy and saying things in between takes that made me very uncomfortable.
Oh yeah.
I didn't want to make a scene, so I never said anything. But that's really all I remember from that, is being super nervous, and this older guy kept hitting on me quietly in between scenes, and it was really gross.
Your dad intervene on that?
I've always had a policy that I never brought him into those situations, because frankly, he would overreact. So if I could avoid it, I did, and I'm glad, because you can't, run to your parents for everything. So.
Well, he's actually in this.
Yeah. We flew out together, and we flew out together from Oregon, and he put me in it because I was curious about moving to LA and pursuing singing and acting and everything. And he was like, well, why don't you come down? And they basically just here, give her a line. And I didn't even know what the line meant. I had no idea what I was saying. But it was fun, and it was my first technical acting experience outside of high school theater.
Well, I'm looking at here. I mean, Tom Sizemore's in this, Gary Busey, Daniel Baldwin.
Yeah, it was a good. I think I saw it when it had come out, and it was. I remember it being pretty entertaining. Like it was a good cast and good project for sure. I just didn't know anything about it at the time, but then years later, when I moved to LA, I appreciated it more.
And we got here Beverly Hills Massacre.
Yes.
You played Casey
Yes.
Jones. Isn't that the name of the guy with the hockey stick from Ninja Turtles?
It might be. I did not know that.
I could be wrong on
It
that,
was a
but
very short. Yeah, that was a pretty short stint in the film. I think I was just doing drugs with my boyfriend at a party or something like that, and making fun of him or something. I
okay.
can't really remember, but it was another indie horror comedy.
Psycho Sleepover. Now
Also,
that
it was really fun to pretend I knew what I was doing with the drugs because I had no idea. I don't even smoke, so I was like trying to make it look cool, but I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
I don't smoke either, so you're better off.
Yeah, I was just pretending. I was like, what do other people do in movies when they do drugs? I'll do that.
There you go. And you got one here called Little Fucker.
That is quite the masterpiece. That yes, relish in it. That is about a monster, a little monster who gets high and likes to party. However, when he runs out of marijuana, he then goes on a killing spree and murders everybody. Got to keep that guy high. And that is the movie.
Oh my goodness, that
It
title.
was fun to work on, though. It was actually a fun, really fun project, but it's a hilarious plot line and just another ridiculous indie horror film that I have proudly attached myself to.
Oh my goodness. I could just imagine getting the script and go, little what?
Well, and it was originally, like, they changed, I think it was called Creeper at one point. I don't know if they changed it to Little Effer or away from it, but, like, they were trying to make it sound more commercial, but, like, couldn't be more not, like, commercial. So, I don't know. For a long time, they had another name for it, and then they just gave up. They're like, Little Effer. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Well, I think it's funny. They got Little Star Ucker on here, and I'm like, yeah, the F word is always that one.
And that is what it says on my resume, asterisks and everything.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and you play, you got the Portal, you're, let me see, it was Nurse, what did I have you listed as?
Nurse, that was actually really funny. Nurse Betty or something like that. I actually met a really good friend through that film. Somehow because why wouldn't this happen to me? We both got casted for the same role. And I met her on set being like, what are you here for? So we ended up they made it into two different roles, essentially. So that the reason there's two nurses is because we accidentally were double casted. But we really hit it off. Her name's Rebecca Zamolo. She's very popular on YouTube anymore. She does a lot of YouTube stuff. But anyways, that's how we met on that project. We were both nurses, and it was fun. And I believe my dad had a role in it. I don't
Yeah,
remember
Homeless
what.
George.
That sounds about right.
I didn't even know he
Yeah.
was in this. I just kind of looking at, yeah, you're Nurse Lucy.
Oh, Nurse Lucy. Yes. I said a lot of medical jargon, I believe.
And then you're in a movie called, huh?
Doctor.
Yeah. Then you're in a movie called Lights Out. That had your dad in it, and Sally Kirkland.
Yeah, she played my grandmother or mother. I don't, the age gap was kind of odd. I think she was my mother, but we were like, maybe she should be my grandmother. I don't know. But she was really cool to work with. I picked her up and drove her to set almost every day. And, I mean, it was really neat working with her. And she, we just shared the greatest stories and so much advice as a mentor. And, yeah, that was a really special experience to get to work with her. So I really appreciated the film for that.
Yeah, I never heard of this. Your dad plays Detective Callahan in this.
I don't even think I was there when he shot. Like, I don't remember shooting any scenes with him in that movie.
And Richard Reichel's in this as well, who of course was in Office Space.
Yes, that was really cool. I was secretly pretty excited about that because I had seen Office Space a bunch. He was fun.
Did he bring you a jump to a conclusions, Matt?
I wish I would have. I believe he played like Beyonce's dad, like Beyonce's dad-in-law in that movie.
Wouldn't that be great? Get your own jump to conclusions, Matt.
That would be amazing. Have him autograph it.
And then you got a short film here, Beneath the Top Hat.
Yeah,
Played
that was a project I worked on for a friend of mine, but it was really cool. It was very like student artsy, so it was like a magician film, and it was that same year that all those magician movies were coming out. There was a lot of magician movies that year, so it was very timely. But yeah, that was more a favor to a friend, and it was a fun project to work on, though. It was very artsy.
Well, your dad's in that too.
Yeah, we like to work together.
I guess.
Any chance we got, a lot of times I would get casted and for films, and I mean earlier on, like Shut Up and Shoot, that was different. He just brought me down, like, hey, give my kid a line. But then later, I would audition or whatever, and I'd get into a project, and then, you become friends with people, and you start talking about roles, and if it can help the movie, and there's, like, a part in it, like, why wouldn't I want to work with him, So sometimes I'd bring them in to various things or vice versa, and it's always fun. I mean, you get to spend more time with people, especially when he's on the road so much. It's an excuse.
And then you got, they got listed CSI New York TV series.
Yes,
Yeah.
I found a dead body in a mailbox all cut up, and I screamed a lot about it. It was a lot of screaming. I'm very good at screaming, apparently.
Yeah. And then you got a short film, Hell's Bells, as in Belles.
That is one of my favorite projects. Christian Ackerman was the director. It did really well in the short circuit. We won a lot of awards. It's a horror comedy. It's about some chicks that go out and, kill demons or whatever. But it was really fun to work on, and the project turned out great. And, last I heard, they were going to make it into a feature, but I don't know what happened with it. How indie things are. And but I know the script's floating around out there somewhere. But it was a really fun project to work on, and we even went to like festivals across the nation board, and yeah, it was just really great, and the cast was great, and it was probably one of my favorite projects. Although I was really cold the whole time shooting, but you can't win them all.
No. Are you going to do any more acting in the future?
Yes. So I took a break from it. I just needed to.
Yes, understandable.
And then I wrote my dad's book for a year and did the book tour and everything, and then I got sidetracked working on my album. But I've actually just recently signed with a new agency, Noelle Kim, who's a dear family friend. She actually used to represent my dad as well back in the day, and she's a great agent. So I'm working with her again theatrically, and yeah, I'm getting back into it. I've just been working on multiple other projects.
Yeah, because another thing, I think I mentioned this to you before, that you might want, and actually I think it'd be great even if you had a CD out. This would work too if you did some of the Russell cons or some of the comic cons or whatnot, where you could sell your CD and you could sell your dad's T-shirt and whatnot.
I don't know why, but I picture me outside on the street like a homeless person with like, hey man, want to hear my CD?
You know what? I want to hear your CD.
That's how I'm picturing it. But no, I would love to do that. I've never actually looked into going to any of those, but I know my dad used to do them a lot, especially as he was older. It was just an easy gig, and he always loved meeting his fans,
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely consider doing something like that. I've grown much more of an appreciation for the entire sport of wrestling and everything as I've gotten older, just developed as an artist and stuff. Like, I really appreciate everything that goes into it now, so.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, Roddy Piper's your dad, but don't sell yourself short, I mean, I definitely think you got something to offer, and I know you're keeping yourself in shape, and like I said, I loved watching those videos where you're going around with the girl and putting her chokeholds in front of
people. Oh my God, that was such a weird experience. experience. The only like reality prank show I ever did. Well, that's not true. I did like some other small one, but it was harmless. The only real one I ever did, and those girls were like the female jackass group,
Okay.
and it was so ridiculous for so many reasons. So for one, I had to brush up on my sleeper hold, and it's actually a really funny story because like the weekend before shooting that, because I don't want to hurt anybody, you know, like I wanted to make sure that I knew what I was doing. So I met with my dad, and my friend was in town at the time, and I didn't want to put my dad in it. He kept trying, like he was instructing me on it, and I didn't want to put him in the sleeper hold because he thought it was really hilarious. He's like, "Do you have any idea the men that have put me in chokeholds?" And I was like, "You're my dad. I don't want to choke you out. It's weird." So my friend that was in town, he's this big special forces guy, and we sat there all day, just my dad and I taking turns putting him in a sleeper hold. And it's so funny because that guy ended up being the guy I married. So it's like one of the first times like all three of us hung out, and it was just me and my dad all day choking out my future husband. But at the time we didn't know that. We were just choking him out for some reason. But he's a big guy, so we figured he could take it, and I didn't feel nearly as guilty choking him out for some reason.
That is funny.
So now he always has that memory.
You haven't hit him with a coconut yet, have you?
No, but I would like to reserve my right to.
That's funny. You choked out your future husband.
Talk about a weird, like, bonding experience with your future father-in-law, right?
Is that how he met you?
No, so we grew up country next door neighbors. So we actually met on the school bus, and we never dated or anything, and he went off into the military, and I came out to LA, and we just had always been friends, and he'd always been around the family, but that was probably one of the first times that like he hung out with like me and my dad for like a long period of time. And it was just us putting him in the sleeper hold all day. And of course, at that time, I had no idea that we would, you know, end up together someday or anything. We were still in the friend zone, if you will. But
yeah,
it was a bonding experience. It really was.
So I'm assuming, military or not, you got him whipped?
I like to think so. Probably not. I don't know. He's a tough guy. Probably. I don't know. But he's always on the road and working and things like that. So, you know, I try to be nice to him when he's home.
I think I'd rather take my chances with him than you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
But nonetheless,
Super badass.
oh, that is funny. Yeah.
It's a funny story. Yeah, I just thought it was great that I didn't want to choke out my dad, but apparently had no problem doing it to my future husband all day.
It must have been hard growing up for guys to date you with your dad being Roddy Piper. Come on, did you meet my dad, huh?
It was not easy. We had a whole system in place where we would, my sisters and I, so we had this like pretty big house in the country, and all the kids' bedrooms were downstairs, and like my parents' bedroom were upstairs in the main entryway. But there was a pool door near my bedroom, and we kind of came up with a system where like we'd send a sister up there to like distract dad for a while, and we'd sneak boys in and out the back so we didn't have to have like the world's most awkward conversations ever before going to like a movie, you know. And I can't do the speech justice, but I'm sure he's told it in a million interviews. He used to give these guys this like "don't key my daughter" speech about like a truck or something. It was terrifying. It was terrifying. He would like trap these men into this speech because, you know, everyone wants to be his friend. Like, "Oh yeah, Roddy, oh yeah," and then he'd be like, at the end, he'd like flip on them and be like, "Don't key my daughter," and just scare the crap out of them. But so he was. It was a bit harder. It was definitely harder in high school than in my adult life because, just because I didn't live with him anymore, so it was easier to say. But in the end, he really hit it off with my husband. So, you know, he had a lot of respect for the military and any kind of job that is, putting yourself out there in that sort of way physically and defending our country and all that.
Exactly.
He was very happy with my choice.
Well, yes,
Other than, I
absolutely.
think his first choice was that I became a nun and just never got married, but I think he was happy with his second choice happening.
Well, just, we got to flip this around a little bit. He did this with the girl. What about Colt?
Colt. So Colt was a bit of a troublemaker.
No.
I'm not going to say anything that'll get him in trouble on the air, but he was a bit of a troublemaker. Yeah. He was smart, though, and I think he was more afraid of introducing girlfriends to the rest of the family than Dad. He was afraid of the three sisters and his mom because it was such a female household and we're very loud and obnoxious together in a group. a lot of hen talking, if you will. So I think he was always afraid of introducing a girl and having us all be like, "Oh my God," And that's exactly what happened when he introduced his now wife Sarah. We really were excited because he never brought girls home. So we really were excited about that. We've met a lot of boyfriends, but not a lot of girlfriends of our siblings.
Well,
yeah.
Do you and your sister still dress him up in makeup and whatnot?
My God, he's probably still so mad that I said that. No, he doesn't let us anymore.
I really
a lot stronger since those days.
Well, I gotta say,
if he would let me, I would do it in a heartbeat, and I would take photos and I would put it on Instagram.
Well, I thought it was great when I had you two on here. I really, really got a sense of between talking to the two of you and you bantering back and forth of your sense of love and unit as a family, and it really told me a lot about how you two were brought up, and I'm assuming your sisters are the same way, It must be really fun around, especially the holidays when you guys get together. I really got that sense.
Yeah, it really is. I don't know. I mean, I've seen some other families over the years that it is almost surprising to me how not close they are, and because for me it's the normal. But we've always been a very, very close family, and we've always had a lot of fun together. And I think that only grew as we got older, and then we got. Everyone got married, happen to have them have a bunch of kids now, yeah, we've always been very close, and it is very loud at my house on the holidays. Very fun.
Just out of curiosity, did your dad ever bring any of the wrestlers by?
We lived in the middle of nowhere, Oregon.
Okay.
You really have to want to come there for a very, they're not just in town. You're not in town there. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's not passing by. I'm pretty sure he brought a few of them by when I was younger, and honestly, I can't really remember who.
Yeah, so it wasn't like one of these, listen, Bob Orton's going to stay a while. His arm hasn't healed. I know it's been 20 years.
But the funny thing is I was so young or not, how it's your parents' friend, you don't really pay attention when you're a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Say who's over. So, I'm sure he did, but I couldn't give you names because, he definitely didn't as we were, older. It was more about, we'd see him, in L.A. or on the road or things like that, But, yeah, I mean, when I was younger, I probably just don't remember who it was. I probably just was dad's friends, because kids are so cool.
Yes, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, listen, you got I know you get a Facebook page, but you got a web page that you want to promote that you have your music on.
Yeah, well, it will be coming to iTunes and Apple Music and Spotify and all of that stuff for pre-order February 7th and to buy on February 14th. But that being said, I'm on Instagram at Ariel Teal Toombs. I'm at Ariel Teal on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. My website's thetombsclan.com, so you will be able to find information on there as well. I share it with my brother because we're very family unit, cross-promoting each other whenever we can. But I hardly ever use that website anymore because I don't know. It's so much to keep up with social media. It's
You're
ridiculous.
right. I don't have an Instagram. I got Twitter. I'll put my interviews on there, but most of
Yeah.
the stuff I do is on Facebook, but it's
I think Facebook might be on its way out. Everyone's been so mad about the private stuff. I don't know. Like a lot of people have left Facebook like they have MySpace back in, I don't know, 2004 or whenever that ended. It's like
yeah, they
everyone's
gotta
moving
they
more and
gotta
more on
knock that
Twitter and
out, yeah.
Instagram.
What's
Yeah.
that?
I'm also on Snapchat, but I always forget that I'm on Snapchat.
See, I don't know anything about that stuff, I'm lucky to have Twitter and Facebook, but I use Facebook mainly, to reach out for interview guests and whatnot, and
Yeah. I
yeah,
think Instagram is what I use the most. It's because it's a happier place. It's just like funny stuff, people having fun. Facebook's like mostly people ranting and like it's the sad news stories. Like it's a depressing world now on Facebook.
oh yeah, yeah.
You don't get any of that on Instagram. It's just like the fun, lighthearted stuff. So I tend to mostly be on Instagram.
Well, yeah, maybe I'll have to check that out some point in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you got any charities you're involved in?
I am a huge animal nerd. I've always loved animals. I get it from my mom. I care about them a lot. And long story short, I am like really deep into this charity called it's Bunny Love Rabbit Resource Center
Okay.
at Bunny Love on Instagram. And it is a rabbit shelter, a nonprofit. They don't get a lot of attention. They're very neglected animals, and they don't get a lot of the funding that cats and dogs get, although I do love cats and dogs as well.
Mm-hmm.
I had a rabbit show up on my doorstep a few years ago, and now here I am volunteering there almost twice, 3 times a week. I'm very heavily involved with them. So they are my favorite charity, although I do try to help out other charities whenever I can.
Listen, did you take that rabbit and figure, well, Colt's not here. Let's dress the rabbit up.
If you are wondering if I have done many a photo shoot with my bunny in costumes, the answer is yes. Yes, I have. And they are on Instagram as well. And I have no shame. They are adorable.
Well, you know what? I get a lot of actually it just hit me. You had an animal charity. I don't know whether it was on Facebook. I remember I donated to it.
Yeah, that would be that charity. Bunny Love is located in Van Nuys. They're a very small shelter, but they've been around for 20 years, and they are amazing. Like they've saved so many rabbits' lives, and they teach people about proper rabbit care. You can board your bunnies there. They do all sorts of stuff, but it's all nonprofit, and it's all for the betterment of rabbits.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I remember I donated because I like to stay in touch with people I interview. And I like to, like when I see charities and stuff like that come up, I love to assist and help out because, it's one thing for you to do my show, but it's another thing, I think it shows more gratitude when you actually do that.
Well, thank you. Some people go to church every week. This is my way of I just feel like it's important to do something selfless in life occasionally. So, and that sounds like conceited in a weird way, but I don't mean it to be. I care about these animals. I put a lot of work in there, and I do a lot of their events, all their events really. I work with them on everything I can. And if anybody stops by there twice a week, you'll probably see me dressed in gym clothes in the back, doing hard labor. So I do everything I can for them. I just kind of threw myself all into that one charity because, you can only do so much, but I try.
Well, it's interesting too because, I grew up in a Christian home and I still read my Bible, but they always talk about the 10% thing. And I always said to people, I said, 10% doesn't necessarily mean the collection plate. 10% could be helping a charity, And
Exactly.
yeah, because it's helping other people, which is one of the things that Jesus taught when he was on earth. Helping or serving others. And you could serve others just by helping animals as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I have also helped out with the LA Children's Hospital, as well as we always take donations on behalf of, or in memory of my dad, to Dornbecker Hospital in Portland, because he was always very active with them. So there are other ones. I just found myself knee-deep into the rabbit one. And at Bunny Love, I know where everybody's pennies are going. You know, I see the result of, like, the donations, and I know how important every donation is, because they're a small charity, and face it, there's a lot of problems out there, and not everybody cares about a rabbit, you know?
Yep.
So we have to work extra hard to, like, keep them afloat. But, you know, they're really amazing little guys, and I try to help them.
Well, I was happy to help that out, you know.
Thank you so much. I mean, it really, it is a location that every dollar counts. Like, they're very reliant on donations, so I really appreciate that.
Yeah, well, you know what? I appreciate you coming on my show. It's,
Thank you so much. It's so nice to talk to you again.
Actually, you know, I really shouldn't, but I'm going to bring this up. I want to share a charity that I'm involved in. I got to throw it out to you because you sound to me like you got the spirit for it.
Uh-huh.
Okay. You remember the Ice Bucket Challenge?
Oh, I remember. I think my dad did that.
Oh yeah, I know. Your dad did that, and then he had his soda that had his picture on it.
Yes, I was part of that project. I was with him for all those meetings. I believe I suggested bubblegum to him, and he was like, "Oh, that's perfect." He was trying to think of a flavor.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it was funny when Ric Flair did it as well. He was dressed up in his suit. Anyway, I'm involved in one about suicide and depression. You want to talk about something that's not taken seriously is depression. And after Robin Williams had passed away, one came out called the Doubtfire Face Challenge.
Huh.
And
that one.
yeah, well, I've had a few of my guests do this actually, and a lot of people in the
cream pie to the face.
Yep.
I will I don't even know where to get cream pie. I will find a cream pie, mostly so I can eat pie. Let's be honest, it's about me eating pie now. But also to video and send to you for the Doubtfire challenge. Yeah,
what you do is you take a pie in the face, video it, and you nominate 3 people. And I'm trying to get it out in the industry, you know, get people, because that's what people want to see. And I've had a lot of people in the horror film industry, especially, take part in this, and I've got a bunch of them up on YouTube, you know, and I just thought, you know what, I'll throw that out, to you.
I'm gonna have to go find some pie. Got it.
Yeah.
It sounds fun. It sounds like a fun challenge. I'm in.
Okay, so you accept the challenge, huh?
I accept the pie challenge.
Okay. Yep. Well. Okay. Well, you're a tough person. I think you could take that. So.
I think I can take a pie to the face. I feel very confident.
Well, it's better than a coconut to the head.
It is. It is. We're gonna make it a coconut cream pie.
Oh, there you go. I never even thought of that.
Now we have the kind of pie.
There you go. Yeah, if you do that and let me know about it and send the link to me, I will put it up, and you can put it up on yours. And yeah, I think that would be a benefit, and that's the one I'm kind of helping out because I grew up with that kind of humor too. So.
Yeah, the pie humor. Yeah, no, we all loved Doubtfire when we were little. We used to watch that as a family. My dad had met Robin Williams a few times, and you know that was he always cared about depression and suicide, and had been around it his whole life, and had friends that had died from that, and so it is a very important thing that doesn't get enough attention or addressed enough in society.
And considering the state right now, and I don't want to get political, but the states is kind of depressing right now.
Be nice, Canada. Be nice. Going down that road.
You're a dual citizen, though, aren't you?
I am, so I could flee, worst case, just saying.
Yeah, well, we would love to have you up here. You and your dad are the only ones that were dual, right?
My dad actually was not. He always had a green card. And I think that's because he was afraid that if the apocalypse happened, he'd need to get his family to Canada. That's my guess. He just never wanted to relinquish it, but he was always very, very proud that his kids were American citizens as well because he loved America. So
Okay.
we grew up with a lot of like both national pride. I actually became a Canadian citizen in my early 20s, I believe. So
Okay.
I haven't done much with it, but it's cool that it's there. It's like a little, piece of my dad's side of the family, which I enjoy.
Oh, well, so your dad just was strict Canadian his whole life, huh?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
He was because my mom was American. So
Okay.
he had a green card, and he never got his U.S. citizenship.
Okay. All right. I did
But
not know
I
that.
think you have to take a test or something, and I feel like he wouldn't want to do that. He probably just didn't want to stand in a line at like a Social Security office.
Don't blame him.
That's probably what it was. He's not. You should have seen how hard it was to get him to go to a DMV every 10 years.
No, I hear you. So what else is coming up for you?
Well, like I said, I'm getting more involved with acting again. Obviously, getting this album's out priority, and I have some other stuff that I can't talk about yet. But it'll be exciting. I will definitely talk to you when I can about it. And yeah, I have some pretty cool stuff coming up outside of music and acting. But we will talk about that another day when I have more information.
Well, you know what? You're always welcome on here, and it was nice to. Yeah, I know you get asked about your dad a lot, but it was kind of really nice to have you come on here and talk about this other side of you, because I kind of noticed that you.
I appreciate it. I mean, people, not everyone asks about that stuff with me, so I really appreciate the interest in letting me come on your show again.
Yeah. Plus, you got this high-spirited personality. I couldn't help have you come back on. One of the funniest promos I ever heard was when you and Colt were doing my show promo at the end of the episode, and you kept screwing it up. I get such a kick out of listening to that.
Oh my god, I was so tired, and he loved it because I'm usually the one that's good with lines.
Yeah, and he went.
He was like, "Want to try again?" He ate every moment of that up.
So
like, do it for me, Cole. Too many words.
Oh, I enjoyed that. I thought that was funny.
Good.
Well, you know what? It was an honor having you come back on here, and like I said, when you got another project coming up and more music, don't hesitate to reach out. I'd love to have you come back on.
Yes, thank you so much. I will not hesitate. It's always so fun to talk to you, and it's nice to keep in touch.
Yes, it is. Actually, that's one thing I got to say, I love the fact that you were consistent in keeping me up to date, with texting and whatnot. I don't get that from everybody, and you were fantastic with that. And I want to say I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, good. I try to, get back to people, especially, you're interested in what I'm doing in my career. So it's nice to have somebody who's taking interest in it.
I always look for opportunities. So, I mean, like I said, when we did the tribute to your dad, I was looking up the rest of you, and I was like, you've had some movies and whatnot, and I thought there's another interview here, and I loved Amber Eyes, so I look forward to hearing more off that CD.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you liked the song. I definitely put my heart into the whole album, so I can't wait to show you the rest of it.
Absolutely. Now I'm going to ask you the question you're dreading right now.
Oh, gosh, what?
Do a plug for my show.
Oh, no. How many words? All right. I'm ready. What's the... What do I need?
I wonder how many takes this is going to be. I'm relishing it. I wish your brother was listening to this right now.
Like you're adding words to it to make it harder as we speak.
We're going to do like a Stanley Kubrick here. Take 75.
No. Hi, Hi, my name is Ariel Teal Toombs, and you are listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise. Fuck. Okay, one more time. Second one's the winner. You ready?
Yeah.
I hope you're not making like a compilation of all the like overtime of it.
No.
No. What are you talking about? Okay. Hi, my name is Ariel Teal Toombs, and you are listening to Gilbert on Python's Paradise out of New Brunswick, Canada.
You almost had it.
What did I miss?
You called me Gilbert.
Okay, in my defense, I had a speech impediment when I was little. That comes out sometimes. Can we use that? Okay.
Take 3.
For me again one more time. And I have to hear it so I can get it out right.
I gotta wonder how many takes you're gonna do for the Doubtfire challenge.
Well, that depends on how many times I have. Okay, all right, I'm ready. You ready?
All right, go.
I'll do it. Hi, my name is Ariel Teal Toombs, and you are listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise out of New Brunswick, Canada.
Oh wow, you got it quicker than last time. What was it, like 5?
You know, I was shooting a quick shout out video for a charity event in Toronto the other day.
Okay.
The hospital's name was Holmes Bloorville.
Yeah.
Hans Bloorville Hospital. Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you how hard that was to get through. I just want you to know, it took me many takes till I could say that right.
It's interesting. You were in Toronto the other day, or just doing
No. I just sent him a quick video to promote his. It's like a charity event. It's art and wrestling out of Toronto. Some guy from Instagram.
Okay.
The hospital was very hard.
It's interesting because the year I had you and Colt on to tribute your dad, that was the first. It was the first time. It was like November that same year. First time I had left New Brunswick to go anywhere. One of my interview guests invited me to Toronto to be her assistant at a horror convention. Mm-hmm. So I've been to Toronto once since, and it's like, man, I have fun at those conventions, I'll tell you.
I've only been to Toronto, I think once or twice, maybe. I definitely went during the book tour. I know that. It was fun. Yeah.
You got to come.
Like all of Canada, though. You
got to come here to New Brunswick.
Maybe I will when I tour for my album.
Yes, there you go.
Right? The little Canadian album tour. It'd be super fun.
There you go. That'd be fantastic. That'd be great. Well, Ariel, thank you so much for coming on here and sharing your talent and love for music, and talk a little bit about your A-list films.
Of course.
Yes. And
Brad Pitt, you know?
Yeah, well, I do look forward to seeing more of what you're doing in the future. I'm definitely keeping an eye on it. And yes, keep in touch, keep me posted on what you're doing. And
all right.
I'll gladly have you back on.
Well, thank you so much. Take care of yourself.
God bless you, Ariel. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.